Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. Good to have you guys joining us here today as we talk about all our favorite things in the world. Movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good stuff. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Robert Meyer-Burnett.
Well, hello there.
By Jonathan Voico.
Hello, everybody.
The delightful Chris Carr is here.
Hello, guys.
And most importantly, of course, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, question, observation, issue that you'd like to hear us discuss, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And here's the good news. This tip link is actually good 24 hours a day. So if you're watching this show a little bit later on the day on YouTube, or if you're listening to our show a little bit later in the day on one of our podcast feeds, either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app of choice, you can still send in a topic or question. If you send one in when we're not live, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. With that down, let's get into it here. And we're going to start off with this. Of course, awards season is off and running. A lot of the big major ones have happened already. We mentioned yesterday that the British version of the Academy Awards, the BAFTAs, happened a couple of days ago, with Conclave winning Best Picture. Good on them. But now one of the other big major awards just happened this weekend. The Writers Guild of America, the WGA, or as Jonathan Voico once called it, the WCA.
Yeah.
So the WGA had their big awards this weekend, and
Changes are coming.
not a lot of surprise, but some glorious results. Shogun and Penguin come out as big winners. Penguin took home, there's three major categories. There's Best Drama, Best Comedy, and Limited Series. Penguin took Best Limited Series. A little bit of a surprise for some people, but I couldn't be happier. The main strength of that show, besides the insane performances by Colin Farrell and Kristen Milioti, is the writing of it. The writing of it was so top-notch, so superb, so on point. It was amazing. The other, not surprisingly, as the big victory lap continues for Shogun, as Shogun ended up taking, well, everything. They just about won everything. The folks at IndieWire write this. The season's dominant drama, Shogun, won't be back in time to compete in 2025, like for the next round. The writer's room is still plugging away at season 2, but its season 1 winning streak also kept rolling at the WGA Awards, where Justin Marks and Rachel Kondo took home Best Drama Series, Best Episodic Drama, and Best New Series. Add those trophies to a mantle straining to support recognition from the Art Directors Guild, the CSA, the CDA, the DGA, the PGA, and the AFI Awards, not to mention those 18 Emmys and potential, which, by the way, broke the all-time record for most Emmy wins, and potential further wins at the SAG Awards, which it's going to pick up a couple more at the SAG Awards, and the Independent Spirit Awards. Shogun has 5 nominations at each, and odds are high awards voters will remember the sweeping epic whenever it returns. It's simply the best show. I couldn't believe how thrilled I was, because you guys know, if you guys go back all the way, I don't even remember how many years ago it was, that Marvel or that Disney Investor Day call that they made where they announced they announced Skeleton Crew, where they announced Fantastic Four was coming, where they announced X-Men was coming. One of the big things, the thing that got me most excited, was they announced Shogun, and I just about lost my mind, if you guys remember. And this is one of those rare occasions where something you're super enthusiastic and excited about actually paid off. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing. And then, of course, what else can be said about Penguin? I mean, from the absolute world-shaking performances, again, from Milioti and Colin Farrell, the drama of it, it wasn't just great comic book TV. It was great HBO TV. I mean, it was just right up there, right along those lines. Anyway, by the way, Chris, on the other side, we haven't mentioned, on the comedy side, Hacks It's been used. I've still never watched Hacks.
Really?
great.
It's a good show.
Is it really
Yeah.
that
It's
good?
So
Really is.
fun.
So
Really well
congratulations
done.
for Hacks for that too. But anyway, your response, what do you think about Shogun's winning streak continuing, Penguin continuing to get more accolades? How do you react to that?
None of it's surprising. Not a single thing is surprising. This all makes sense. It all adds up. Honestly, the thing I was most surprised by is that in its 11 seasons, Bob's Burgers has had 16 nominations. It finally has 2 wins.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. It
That's
won this
crazy
year.
to me. So I was really excited about that one. But I mean, Shogun and Penguin dominating, that's just par for the course. These shows are excellent. Their writing is the foundation of why these shows are so good, that excellent, exquisite writing. And then it's just yes-anded by all those actors and directors and everyone else on board who are in service of that story. So it's really great to see them get their roses. Well deserved.
Rob, what do you think of the key things that went into like Shogun winning, Penguin winning, things like that?
Well, you had creators that had a strong vision and executed that vision. You know, it's
Right.
what we want from our entertainment. It's funny to me, Penguin, it's like the idea of somebody, we've seen Gotham, we've seen shows where
Yeah.
other Batman villains were, but when you take someone who looks at comic book material, and what we all want is for them to elevate that material, to treat that material the way we comic book readers feel when we read it. We take it seriously. And that show, I mean, first of all, you had Colin Farrell with that great performance. Then you brought in the secondary cast on the show was great. You had the daughter,
Kristen Milioti.
Kristen Milioti. She was amazing. And this is all because the showrunners know what they're doing. Go figure. And Shogun, man, I mean, come on. And for us, I mean, I love the original Shogun. I had my knives sharpened to hate that show. I loved it so much because it's like, how can you do this? How can you remake something from my childhood I love? But they did it brilliantly. Again, the casting, the care. Aren't the co-creators? Aren't they husband and wife?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, and so you've got a creative team at the top that not only are they do they have a bond in marriage, but they clearly had a creative vision together that they executed on. And that's what you want. That's what you want from, and it goes to show when you've got the right creative people behind something, you're unstoppable. And you know what? They shot that in Vancouver. They made it look like Japan. I mean, everything about that show, from the credits, the music, everything about that show, Anna Sawai, all of that was amazing. I mean, come on.
It was the show was perfection. It was a
good.
perfect show. And so that leads us then into this. With it continuing its huge winning streak, it's going to win a couple of awards at SAG, right? Anna Sawai is going to win probably best.
Look, I joke, but her performance was amazing.
Stunning.
It was amazing. And so was Cosmo. Blackthorn was portrayed differently than
Richard Chamberlain did.
Than
Yeah.
Richard Chamberlain did. But his performance was amazing. And then, of course, our Lord Toranaga-san.
Now there's a bit of an elephant in the room now then surrounding Shogun, with the fact that they are indeed doing a season 2, which of course with all the award wins and the utter perfection that was done. Now, the same 2 show creators, showrunners, and writers are doing it. They're overseeing the whole thing. But the catch is there is no Shogun 2, the book.
No.
Now, the thing I've always felt was when you got to the end of Shogun, my God, there was so much more story to tell. There's so much more story to tell, but the underlying source material isn't there for it. So they're going off on their own. Do you think they're going to be able, like seeing the job they did with season 1, do you think they're going to be able to continue this on without the underlying source material to do it?
Well, they do have history. And
they do have history.
They're going to have to, I would imagine they're going to lean into the actual history, because look, you can never fail when you go and start looking into history. You're obviously going to have to, just like the first Shogun, just like James Clavell did in his book, you have to dramatize it. But I think that Japanese history, the Tokugawa Shogun, that whole era of Japan is so fascinating. You're never going to run out of drama. I mean, it kind of was Game of Thrones for real in a way. So I'm hoping, and knowing what the creative, they know what they have to do. And I would like to think that they're like the Cylons and have a plan.
Chris, we're going into SAG, an organization you are a member of.
Yeah.
You have been on the nominating committee of SAG. Okay. Chances. We got Hiroyuki Sanada, of course, Toranaga. He's going to be in there for lead. He's been
yeah.
winning everything everywhere. Anna Sawai has been winning everything everywhere. I believe Asano, who played Kasigi, is in there as well for supporting. Any of those win? All three of them win? Two of them win? What do you see their chances going into SAG?
It's trickier now because of Penguin. I mean, honestly, it's really anybody's race between those two shows, just because the SAG Awards also tend sometimes to be a little bit more wild cardy, where every now and then we get somebody who's in the mix too, who's not been nominated for other things or isn't a front leader in, the Oscar race until the SAG Awards happen. So it really could be anyone. I mean, it could go to Honora. It could go to Pamela Anderson. It's a
Yeah.
anybody's
But SAG
game.
does separate television from movies,
Oh,
right?
yes. Sorry.
So
sorry.
you're talking about Shogun
yeah.
and their chances.
Oh, yeah. But so Shogun, as long as Penguin doesn't clinch it, that's really what it comes down to.
I honestly, not a rhetorical question. I honestly don't know this. So whereas the WGA separates drama series from limited series, does SAG make that same distinction?
We typically have them divided into different categories, but Penguin and Shogun both were listed as
drama?
as dramas and limited, but then have continued on. So I need to double check to see where they are currently slotted
Actually,
at.
I'm glad you brought that up because in case people forgot, Shogun was originally listed
Yeah.
as a limited series.
Let me
There
check
was
what it
no
is
plan
now.
for a season 2. And then when they realized, hey, we might have just made the greatest TV show ever, let's change gears, and they decided to do a season 2. So it's gonna be interesting to see where that falls in. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this big night at the WGAs for obviously Hacks as well, but Shogun sweeping up everything. Penguin continues its victory lap around as well. How do you guys feel about it? Were you surprised by it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? One of the favorites, I'm not going to say by far the favorite, but one of the favorites going into Oscar season right now is The Brutalist. It's a movie that I thought was incredibly good. I got a little fatigued with it in the second half. It's a very, very long film, but it's a brilliantly made film. It's been winning some awards during the award season. It's going to pick up at least a couple at the Oscars. But right now, the director of the film, Brady Cobert, bringing up a couple of interesting things. One thing he's saying is that he did not get paid for The Brutalist. As a matter of fact, he said he didn't get paid for the last 2 films he did. And he's saying that it was very difficult to do 4 months of awards campaigning because he wasn't able to pick up any other work during that time. Variety wrote this. Brady Cobert, the BAFTA-winning filmmaker behind The Brutalist, has revealed that he and his wife and creative partner, Mona Fastvold, made, quote-unquote, $0 from their past 2 films, despite being a major Oscar contender this year, speaking on the WTF podcast with Mark Maron. Cobert described the financial strain that came with making an ambitious pick. This is the first time I've made any money in years, Cobert said, explaining that his first real paycheck in a long time came from directing 3 ads in Portugal. Both my partner and I made $0 on the last 2 films we made. Yes, actually 0. So we had to just live off of a paycheck from 3 years ago. And obviously the timing during an awards campaign and travel every 2 to 3 days was less than ideal, but it was an opportunity that landed in my lap and I jumped at it. All right. A couple things a couple of interesting things. One, we're going to put off for a second. And that is the whole idea of that in this interview, he goes on to say that I was literally traveling, going everywhere. I couldn't take any other work for the last 4 months because the studios had me on this on this awards campaign, and I haven't been able to take other work, and they don't pay you for that. I want to talk about that in a second. The first thing I want to address is this startling claim he makes that he received $0 for making The Brutalist and $0 for making the film before that. And just to drive it home, he said, yes, $0. Like he drove that home. I don't know, Brady. I don't believe him at all. I don't either he is lying or he is the stupidest human being in existence. And he clearly ain't stupid because, man, that dude can direct because he directed the hell out of The Brutalist. He's already picked up some Best Director wins. He's considered one of the top favorites going into the Oscars for Best Director win. I don't believe for a second that he made $0 because who came to him and said, hey, can you take the next couple of months and come and direct this movie? Yeah, great. How much are you paying? Nothing. Okay, sure. I don't believe that happened for a second. Now, Jonathan and I were talking before the show started today. Said, hey, maybe it was one of those situations where he decided that I'm going to be the next Alec Guinness. I'm going to take almost nothing in exchange for back-end points. I'm going to be the next Robert Downey Jr. I'm going to take a subsidized upfront check in exchange for back-end points, and maybe this will be the next Oppenheimer, and I'm going to make $100 million off it, and then it didn't work out. In which case, that's your choice.
You took the back end deal.
You decided to roll the dice on that, and if it had come up sevens, you would have been rich.
Right.
Didn't, whatever. But he's kind of making it sound like these stingy guys out there, they're not paying me anything to direct film. I don't believe for 1 second he didn't get paid a single dollar. And if he did, then that's his own damn fault for accepting the job for no money. That's one thing. On the side of him claiming that literally since this movie dropped, it's been all awards push. They've had me flying to locations every 2 to 3 days. That's literally 4 straight months of where he couldn't do any other work. And he didn't get paid for promoting and doing the Oscar pushes and the awards season push. I've said on this show before, Rob, that I think promoting your film is implied in accepting a contract to do a movie. Like, if you're going to do a movie, they're investing a lot of money in you. You should go out and promote the film. But that's with the understanding of doing the press day junket, a couple of the talk show appearances, things like that. Something like this, where literally for 4 months straight, you have to be available and on the road because now you're trying to stump for the AFI Awards. Then you're trying to stump for the Critics' Choice Awards. And you're trying to stump for the Golden Globe Awards. And you're trying to stump for the New York Film Critics Society Awards. And then you're trying to stump for the SAGs and the WGAs and the DGAs and the Oscars. And you're out there constantly to the point that you literally can't make any other money. You got to turn down jobs because you're going out to this. Is it out of bounds for me to say, I think at that point, hey, studio, if you really want to push your awards campaign, pay these people for their time? I don't know. How do you look at both of those issues? The one about him claiming having made no money, $0, he said, and the whole thing about having to stump for 4 months and not getting paid for it.
I am the wrong person to ask this to because in my experience working at the indie level, most of the projects that I've ever worked on, I've been paid maybe a sustaining wage to pay my rent or my bills. I have never been afforded, to be honest, there was only one movie that I worked on that I made a lot of money on as a producer, which was Agent Cody Banks. That was a studio movie that was Agent Cody Banks and its sequel. But most things, like the thing I'm working on now, I've been working on this project since the end of 2023. I don't get paid.
And by the way, True Noir, with starring Chris Carr and Michael Rosenbaum, Lex Luthor,
Katie
himself,
Sackhoff,
Katie Sackhoff, David Strathairn.
But the thing is, it's our project.
Yeah, it's your project.
So
yes.
we crowdfunded it and we paid everybody to work on it, but I don't get a salary to work on it
because you are the de facto filmmaker in this.
And
case.
so
right.
so and that's been the case in a lot of the projects I've worked on. I've worked for a bare minimum of money. Even when I made Free Enterprise, I was the writer director. I made enough to pay my bills while we were in production to basically pay my rent, but that's not making any money. You're getting your expenses paid.
But you didn't make $0.
No, I didn't make $0, but I didn't also. There was nothing at the end of the project. I had to go get another job. Like there was nothing. There's nothing that. And a lot of people don't understand that at the indie level, there's not a lot of money because it goes into the project. You have to put the money in the project. Like I could not have spent as much money on True Noir and hired actors of that were indie that people didn't know, but we went for a cast. I'd rather have paid for the cast that makes the project better, so the project is worth more. But like when you get to the awards thing, like 4 months, like you pointed out, who's paying you for that?
Right
now, actors. I was talking about this on the internet. actors, let's say, who was it? It was
Was it on the internet?
it was no,
Just
no. It was Maya Hawke was going on and talking about getting paid for social media and not getting paid
Right.
enough. And I made the point. I said, look, if an actor, that people were getting cast because of how many social media followers they had, that's what she was complaining about. Now I would say that that's great, but actors, if they're going to promote your movie on their social media platforms, they get paid for that. They get paid for posts. Like if you want an actor to do a post for you, it's $5,000. It's $10,000. They've built up social media platforms that are an asset. They're a valuable asset, and they should get paid for that. If you, like you said, John, if A24 is going to pay Brady to go stump for this movie, that is outside the purview of what he was hired to do. Going to press days and doing junkets, that's one thing, but he didn't know he was going to get Oscar consideration. A24 should have that set aside in their Oscar campaign, knowing they need to pay people, because it is unfair to expect them to do otherwise. I totally believe that. I believe that he probably didn't make very much money making his movie. I don't think he made $0 like you. I don't believe it was zero. But he probably, trust me, a director wants to have as much money as he can to put into the movie, especially an A24 indie film. Everybody's like, that's been the bane of my existence. I mean,
Because what was the total budget of Brutalist? $10 million?
and look what they got
yeah,
for that
it was
money.
very low. I think it was 10 million.
It's like around there. So it's really, really
It's
small
all
budget.
up on the screen,
Yeah.
and the more money he takes, the less he has to put on the screen. And I think that's why a lot of, indie directors or people who are creating their own projects aren't making a lot of money. But going on the awards circuit is way different, and that's something that A24 should build into their budget to promote a film. For an Oscar campaign, they take ads out in the trades, they spend all this money, and part of that should be to pay their actors and pay their director to go stump for the project.
Yeah, to me, that line gets crossed, Chris, when when the work you're asking the talent to do, go out and promote the film, literally is taking away from their ability to earn money and earn a living otherwise. A couple of days here and there, that's fine. But like booking off months of your time where you can't do anything else as a performer, especially, like what's your perception of that? How do you take that?
Oh, well, real quick, I do want to just say that it is Penguin that they have made a limited series, and Shogun is a regular series. I just wanted to put that
Okay,
in there
so
real
those
quick
will
for
be in
SAG.
two different
They're two separate
categories.
categories,
Okay,
so those are
got
two
it.
different actors. So yes, Shogun's going to win. I just want to throw that out there real quick. Okay. I absolutely am of the mindset of you should be compensated for that. And I do think that this was a misquote / over exaggeration from him, because later on in the interview, he does say to Marin, I essentially worked for free for years. That's different than being paid $0.
Yeah.
So-
Because he said, my partner and I made $0, and then he doubled down. He said, yes,
Zero.
actually
Yeah.
zero.
And then,
But okay,
Does that
that's
mean
not
after
actually
all
zero.
expenses? So
Yeah.
like it paid for your rent, it paid for your bills,
Right.
but then once you
And then
spent all
this.
that, you broke even.
well, and
Yeah.
for so many people, it doesn't even do all of that, right?
No,
From
yeah.
a performer standpoint, I'm going to pay my manager, I'm going to pay my agent. And then when you're at a certain caliber, you're paying your lawyer, you're
Right.
paying your publicist. You have a higher tax bracket, so more of that comes out. You're paying SAG dues that go into union fees. So at the end of the day, you're left with maybe like 60% of your check if you're lucky, depending on how large your team is. And it's really expensive to go around and promote this. I was so lucky on True Noir because Rob and our other producer, Mike, made sure that we all were taken care of.
Right.
We-
And we took care of you guys before us. I'll give you another example. I produced a horror film for Warner Brothers called The Hills Run Red. It took 3 years from the time we put it into development to the time it came out. For 2.5 of those years, we didn't make any money at all. It was all, we were spending our own money to create the project. And when we eventually got it to Warner Brothers and they agreed because of all the work we'd put in, they saw the trailer that we'd made, they had the script that we had written, Dave Scoury wrote, then they agreed to greenlight it. And if you were to break down, based on our fees that we made on the movie, how much, if you broke it down over the last 3 years, we essentially made $0. I mean, even though we got one paycheck, the 2 years we worked on the project before it became something, we never got compensated for. And if you were to break down all the work we did making these things, making the trailer, but that's what artistic endeavor is.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, on the one hand, everybody always has this perception that anybody that works on any movie anytime is super mega rich. But that's often not the case. We're being reminded of that a lot. And sometimes you're being asked to spend months of your life promoting for awards consideration, and you can't take other jobs while you're doing that, yet you don't get paid for that. I think it's something that needs to change. Maybe you don't. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still got to talk about a couple things, including report going around that Henry Cavill might be in talks to star in a new Marvel series. We're going to discuss that and the possible validity or lack thereof of that report. Also, we got an Avengers movie coming up, but who's going to be on the lunchbox? Who's actually in the Avengers? We're going to break down the likelihood and unlikelihood of certain characters. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Birddogs. Guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's episode, Birddogs. You know what I hate? Dress pants. They're stiff, they're uncomfortable, and they always feel like they're fighting against me. But then I found Birddogs, and let me tell you, it's been a total game changer. These pants fit like a dream, giving you all the comfort of gym wear while still looking sharp enough for work or a night out. I wear my Birddogs everywhere, lounging at home, running errands, or even a night out at the game. The fit? Spot on. You get to pick your exact waist and length, so no awkward bagginess or tight spots. And unlike other high-end brands like Lululemon or Vuori, Birddogs skip that shiny, weird-looking material, just straight up premium comfort. And let's talk for a second about their classic quarter zip, probably my favorite thing they make. I threw it on the other day for a casual dinner and it looked sharp, but I was comfortable as if I was wearing pajamas. It's that good. For a limited time, our listeners get a free hat with every order when you use the code John Campea at birddogs.com. Get their best-selling hat completely free when you use the code John Campea at birddogs.com. Support our show and let them know we sent you. And thank you to our friends at Birddogs for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. And all right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this. Time for another installment of what we call the rumor mill.
I love rumors.
Everybody, the rumors are running wild. The rumor mill is a little segment we do where it's not exactly verified information, but it's a rumor that's going around and some of the notable outlets are running with it, so we at least talk about it. And we always have two questions with these rumor mills. Is it even true? And theoretically, if it is, would we like it? The topic of today's rumor mill is my boy, Henry Cavill, the greatest Superman of all time. Yes, I said it. I love this guy. The guy who was runner-up to be James Bond, only behind Denton, lost it out to Daniel Craig. I think there's nothing this guy can't do. I love this guy. Anyway, there had been a lot of talk that ever since he unfortunately had to depart DC as Superman, a lot of talk, a lot of people, my fellow Henry Cavillians, saying he should go to the MCU. He should go over to Marvel. A lot of people got a little bit too on the nose, saying things like he should be Captain Britain. Like, yeah, this is a little too on the nose, but there could be a role for him, right? Well, there's a rumor going around, and outlets like Superhero Hype, an outlet I like very much, by the way, is carrying it with a new rumor that Henry Cavill is being eyed for the Nova series coming to Disney Plus.
That's all the info I need. He's doing it.
He's done. It's done. It's official. They wrote this: Henry Cavill might be one of the top choices to star in Marvel Studios' Nova series, but not as Richard Rider, as per a new rumor. By the way, the rumor doesn't say it wouldn't be Richard Rider. They just don't specify that it would be Richard Rider. Marvel's head of streaming, television, and animation, Brad Winderbaum, whose profile is growing every single month, confirmed in 2024 that the Nova series is in development with Richard Rider as the main protagonist. However, there is still time until fans get to watch the show. All right. First thing that needs to be noted is that Superhero Hype is not the source of this rumor. Mm-hmm. As many of these rumors that hardly ever work out, it is from one of those self-professed Twitter scoopers is where it comes from. That sometimes have gotten it right.
Could be.
Oftentimes have not. A lot of times it's just throwing spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks. But this is one that I thought was worth discussing. All right. First of all, let's talk for a second about the validity of this. Do I believe that Henry Cavill there's a strong chance that he may actually star in the Nova series coming out from Marvel. I do not. I don't believe that. I would love it. I would. And is it possible? Of course it's possible. We just talked the other day about the fact that Marvel talks to hundreds of actors all the time about exploring possibilities, stuff like that. Maybe 1% of them work out to be something. Do I have any doubt that at some point Kevin Feige and Henry Cavill have probably had conversations? I wouldn't doubt that at all. But Henry's dance card is actually getting kind of full.
Mm-hmm.
Besides his Warhammer thing, that is his passion project, he's also got an entire new franchise of Highlander coming and one or two other projects that they've talked about as well. So is it possible this could happen? I'm not saying it's impossible. It is possible. I'm saying, do I currently, as a fan on the outside looking in, believe it? I do not. Now, that's the one question. The second question now, if theoretically it were turn out to be true, would I like this? Hell yes, I would love this. Now, I don't think you can just drop Henry Cavill in any role. Again, I think stuff like Captain Britain, maybe even Sentry, who they obviously got somebody else. But I think there are characters that would just be a little bit too on the nose, that you're just doing it for the gimmick of the guy who played Superman is now kind of playing a Superman-like character in the MCU. I think they should avoid that. But I think Henry Cavill is an insanely good talent. I always think adding talent is always a good thing. It's not like there's some novelty of, a guy who was in DC is now in Marvel. It happens all the time now, so it's not that big of a deal. So adding him into this thing, instant credibility for this series. A series that, by the way, not a lot of normies will even recognize or know anything about. Add Henry Cavill's name to it. Well, now you got my attention, right? So, Chris, let's go over to you on this. There are two questions that emerge. One, how do you see the validity of this report? Two, for conversation's sake, if it were true, do you like the move? Too gimmicky because he was Superman once? How do you see it?
I don't think it's gimmicky at all. We see people crossing over all the time. And also, look at Henry Cavill.
He was built to be in a superhero movie.
That's a superhero. That's what you're doing. Well, and the validity of this, too, I feel like he's definitely in talks to have a role. I just don't think it's this role. I feel like with Nova, whether you're going with Richard or Sam, I think you're going to go with a younger actor. Now, Henry Cavill by no means is, like some old dude who's about to be put out to pasture. But I do think you're going to go with somebody a little greener, a little younger, just so you have some longevity for that character and that career. So I feel like if they're going to put him in the mix, it's going to be somebody different. And I think while his star power could lend itself to a slightly unknown thing like Nova in a really great way, I feel like he's better utilized somewhere else. I don't think this is the one.
Rob, chances on the validity? And if it were true, would you like it?
The validity, I don't really buy it. It seems like one of those fan casting things, but I'm with Chris on this one. Look, would I love to see him play Nova? Yes, either character.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see him play Scott Summers too and lead the X-Men.
Yeah,
but
he might be a little
that's what I'm
old
saying.
for
He's
that.
a little old. But if he could still do it, depending on how I think this idea of making the X-Men younger is kind of a weird idea, because when I was younger, I always thought they were a little older. I always thought the X-Men were in their 30s.
Sure.
That's kind of what I never thought. Look, I love James Marsden as Cyclops.
They just misused him.
He was a perfect Scott Summers. But in terms of this, I think that, look, Captain Britain's too on the nose, but I don't think anybody would complain if he did play Captain Britain.
I agree. I
his
wouldn't
sister's
complain.
Betsy,
Yeah.
so she's Psylocke, so that's cool too. But I mean, I don't think it's true. Would I like to see that happen? Yes, because I think because of his Warhammer love, and I think that particular character in that armor is something he would just relish playing. So it would be fun to see him in that role. I just don't think it's
Let me
true.
throw a curveball out there. What about, we think of Henry Cavill, he's Superman. If he comes into the MCU, he's got to play a hero. What if he didn't play a hero? I'm going to throw a name out there. Nathaniel Essex, Mr. Sinister.
Oh, he'd be great.
As Henry Cavill as Mr. Sinister.
Yeah, he'd nail it.
Okay, that's the greatest. That's a great idea. He's my favorite X-Men villain. Bring him on. He would look awesome.
And I would love to see like flashbacks where he's like in Victorian times or whatever.
Oh yeah. Or he could lead the Hellfire Club.
You know what?
Well, like it would be quick,
Connected,
but yes.
Yeah.
connected to the Netflix Enola Holmes series.
Oh, there we go.
So he would take his character from that and just say he became
He
Nathaniel
give him
Essex.
a little bit
Sherlock
of a
Holmes is
Sherlock Holmes
actually
became
Nathaniel.
Mr. Sinister.
Yeah.
he could be great as Nathaniel Essex. Oh my God, I love that. I love that idea better than him playing in the Nova Corps.
Yeah.
Wow, make him with a great British accent. Oh,
And listen,
That's a
to
great
to
idea.
quote to
I'd buy
quote
that
why
hot toy.
why am I forgetting the name of the guy from Oh my God, why am I forgetting the name of the guy from Attack the Block and Star Wars?
John Boyega.
John Boyega. Yeah, why was I freezing on John Boyega? To quote John Boyega, "You ain't gonna Disney Plus me," is maybe a Henry Cavill too big of a name to drop into a series that's a Disney Plus series as opposed to a feature film thing. I mean, that's something you got to take into
I
consideration.
feel like
right?
his name is so. It's like Jenna Ortega. Everyone throws her name around like, oh,
Yeah.
they're in talks with Jenna Ortega to be this. They're in
Yeah.
talks with Jenna Ortega to do that. Same with Cavill. You know, you got to be. It's like two of those names you just got to be careful with.
you know, he's never actually. I mean, even Zach, as much as you and I love Man of Steel, I don't feel that he was done. The Superman character was not. He did not get enough to do in those movies. He needed to be able to be the debonair Clark, and he needed to go like to
Well, you needed Superman 2 or Man of Steel 2
you
or
really
3
did. You
to
really
be able to
did.
get him to that
And
point.
every time we've seen him, I loved him in Man from U.N.C.L.E. He was great.
He's so
He
good
was
in that.
so good
And
in
he's
that.
so good in that. And Henry Cavill deserves to have his. He needs the role that's going to define him, that makes him $500 million or $1 billion. He
Connor
needs-
McLeod of the Clan McLeod.
I mean, that could do it. And Highlander is that role. Highlander
Could
is that
be,
role.
if it's
could
done
be that
right.
role. But he deserves. I mean, seeing him as Nathaniel Essex as the villain. I mean, come on.
And honestly, one of the greatest cinematic moments of the past 15 years is the arm gun cocking.
I know,
in
right?
Mission Impossible. One of the greatest moments
Well,
like,
and
ever.
talk about showing how he can do a heel turn.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an awesome villain in Mission Impossible. Make him, you know what? Cavill is Nathaniel Essex, my favorite thing I've heard.
Make it happen. All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? In the rumor mill that's going around is that Henry Cavill may star in the Nova series. Number one, do you believe in the validity of that? Number two, assume it's true for a second. Would you like it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? You know, I jumped before the show started today, earlier this morning as I was gathering all the show notes and everything together. I asked in our community tab, I asked, hey, guys, is there anything you'd like to hear us discuss today? And the one that came in that got overwhelmingly the most thumbs up was somebody asked, who the hell is going to be in the Avengers by the time Doomsday gets around? And at first I kind of ignored it, but I thought, you know, that could be kind of fun to talk about. Because one of the things we've complained about in the MCU lately is that we don't even have any idea what the Avengers are right now, who they are, let alone what even the story of the MCU has been ever since Endgame. And so as we're now getting closer and closer, and we just had a Captain America Brave New World film where we actually have the president saying, I want to put the Avengers back together. All right. So why did I just sound more like Joker than Harrison Ford? Anyway, so we're heading into that, and I thought it might be fun. We do these once in a while, but running down some characters who we believe could, or maybe won't, be in the Avengers. So guys, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to list off a character. I'm going to give my percentage chance that I think they'll be in it, and I want to hear what you guys think. And then once we get to the end of my list, I'm going to see if there's any other names that you guys think I left out. All right? We're going to start off with this one. He's one of the OGs, Thor. Now, after Thor, Love and Thunder, there were some question marks about the character anymore. Actually, Chris Hemsworth kind of implied maybe he might be done, but then later in other interviews said, no, I'm looking forward to coming back. It just wouldn't be with Taika Waititi, unfortunately. But he said Thor is going to come back. I don't know how you do an Avengers movie today without representation from the OG Avengers. I think you need it. I think he's the biggest draw. Thor, Love and Thunder, as much as it was received, it made a lot of money. People still wanted to go see it. I'm going to give a 100% that Thor is going to be in Avengers Doomsday. Chris, what do you think?
I'd go like 85, just to be safe. Things could happen.
Not an absolute
I don't
certainty.
think anything is guaranteed in this life. I trust and love no one, including the Asgardians.
Rob, Thor being in the Avengers.
I gotta
on the
go.
lunchbox.
I gotta go 100% on this because they need someone who actually has real power.
That's true. All right.
100%.
We move on from that character. It's talking about real power. An individual powerful enough to single-handedly stop Kang the Conqueror, Ant-Man. Ant-Man as being in there. Of course, Ant-Man is still out there. He's still doing his thing. Paul Rudd has always been absolutely delightful. After the debacle, though, of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which is one of the worst MCU movies, and I'm a huge fan of Paul Rudd's Ant-Man. I love the first one. I really quite enjoy the second one, not as much as the first, but Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was a thing. It brings that into question a bit. I still like it. I mean, minor spoiler alert. There's an awful lot of Ant-Man references in Captain America: Brave New World. I'm going to go 75% that Ant-Man is going to be part of Avengers Doomsday. Rob, what do you think?
I'm going 85.
Even more
Because
so.
he's become, look, he's Giant Man too. So
That's true,
They,
yeah.
they need.
We saw his skeleton in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Absolutely, and I think he's a great performer. He's a delightful guy, and Ant-Man got a trilogy. Regardless, and the first two are pretty damn good. So I'm gonna go Ant-Man 85%.
Chris, what do you think about the idea of Ant-Man being there?
I'm gonna go with Rob. I'm with that.
75%.
Yeah, he makes great support staff. He's wonderful and charming. And come on, Paul Rudd on the lunchbox. Also, an Ant-Man should be on the lunchbox. It's just a historic member of the Avengers lineup.
Yeah, and he's got to go. He's got to do the boys thing. He's got to get real small, crawl into someone's buttocks and blow up.
Doom's mask.
We need to see that happen during Secret Wars. It's
All
got
right.
Come on, Disney, you cowards.
Yeah.
Go
His
up a
face
butt.
is sticky.
Let's move
right.
on to the next one here. A character that Kevin Feige once dubbed as the most powerful character in the MCU. And certainly had a hell of a appearance and pop-up and introduction in Endgame, Captain Marvel. Now, I don't like, first of all, I'm a fan of the original Captain Marvel movie. I thought it was quite good. Not top tier MCU, mid-tier MCU. I enjoyed it. The Marvels, not as good. I like the Marvels more than most people do. Like, I don't particularly love it.
It's not the train wreck people made it out to be, though.
I
think
actually
they
thought it
could've-
was okay.
I think they could have skipped the musical scenes,
Yes.
like in that.
Oh,
planet.
yes.
And then that goes so weird. Everything else was like flowing.
That's when I went to the restroom and I loved the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
had a
mean,
great
yeah.
time.
Anyway, we could go on and on about the Marvels, but still, this is a majorly significant character in the MCU, and one that would be incredibly dubious by her absence in this. And therefore, I'm going to say, especially going to your point you made about Thor earlier, you're going to need to have some characters in here who have some substantial power. Captain Marvel's it. I'm going to say it's 100% Captain Marvel's in there. Chris, what do you think?
I don't know, because she's so overpowered. You need her for Avengers level threats, but you also have the line too of, this isn't the only galaxy that needs my help, or universe,
Yeah.
or whatever she says. So I don't know if she'd be a consistent team player, because also she has not historically enjoyed being a team player. I don't
Rob, what do you think?
know.
I'm with Chris. I don't know. I mean, look, to be honest, I like Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. I
Me
liked
too.
the first Captain Marvel quite a bit. I thought it was a really fun science fiction B movie, call it that. I really liked when she showed up and rescued Tony Stark in Endgame.
Oh, that was
You
a
know,
great moment.
That was
yeah.
a great moment, and I think I think she's kind of been done dirty by the way she's been used in terms
Yes.
of the way her character has been written. I think if she's written well, and they give her a part that Brie Larson could be enticed to come back, I think Brie Larson herself. I think they could bring Captain Marvel back, but it might not be Brie Larson playing her.
Oh,
Because I mean, just because I feel that she hasn't been, why subject herself to that? I mean, she has said on the red carpet, I don't, who knows? Maybe I'll come back. I liked her in the role. I'd like to see her. I would like to see her part. I'd love to have her come back, and I think she should get rewritten. Give her something great to play. entice her. She's an Academy Award-winning actress.
If I understand it right, I think she has 2 films left on her deal. So if Marvel wants her to be back playing the role, it could probably compel her. But they didn't compel Agent Smith, who played
Hugo
Red Skull.
Weaving.
Hugo Weaving, thank you. They didn't compel Hugo Weaving to come back to play Red Skull, even though they could have because he was under contract. So maybe they wouldn't make Brie Larson do it.
I'd like to see her come back, and I would like to see her well-written and
Yeah.
give her
All
something
right.
to play.
All right, we're going to keep moving here. We're going to have to move at a faster pace because I got a lot of names here.
Sorry.
All right. We just got a movie with him. Sam Wilson, the current Captain America. Oh, guys, there isn't any doubt here, right? Like, absolutely Sam Wilson. With the response to Brave New World, I don't know what kind of role he'll play in the new ones, but I don't think there's any doubt that Anthony Mackie's going to be in Doomsday. Do you, Rob? Any doubt?
No, 100%.
100%? Chris?
99.9.
99.9, because you already said
Yeah.
you won't go 100.
I won't go 100.
Got
I
it.
refuse.
All right, this one's interesting. Tom Holland's Spider-Man. From a practical point of view, he is your most popular character. I don't know how you can do this without him. I don't know how you can do an Avengers movie without putting him in there while he's still around. Now, again, he's got a heavy dance card. There are reports going around that they're going to kind of Mandalorian him because they're saying a lot of the movie he might have the mask on and then he might have to come in and just do the voiceover of a stunt actor in the costume and only do a couple of scenes with the mask off. I mean, whatever. But I just don't see a reality that you do an Avengers movie right now without Spider-Man. Chris, how do you see that?
No, he's wildly popular. I think he would be in there. And plus, I'm so interested to see how they deal with the memory wipe of, well, yeah, everyone remembers Spider-Man. So how are they going to reconcile knowing, like, are they still going to have the recollection of he's just a kid? Or is it just, oh yeah, this arachnid fella came and helped us sometime and he did a pretty okay job. I'm really interested to see how they balance out what they've already written with how they move forward with him. I think he has to be in there.
But remember, even with the spell, now that, like, everybody remembers Spider-Man,
Yeah.
they just don't remember Spider-Man was Peter Parker. Okay, but the moment Spider-Man shows up and takes his mask off somebody, my name's Peter Parker, they now know who he is.
Exactly.
Right? So they can kind of get around that if they need to.
Sure, if he chooses to go
If he
that route
chooses
again,
to,
because
yeah.
he had to do that before because of people knowing his secret identity.
Rob, Spider-Man,
100%.
100%.
I mean, and it's multiversal. Which Spider-Man? How many Spider-Man?
Well, yeah, well, that becomes another question.
Yeah,
Because some
it's a
people think
different-
we're going to
but
get
yeah, I
Toby
think
and
Tom
Andrew
Holland-
back.
I think you'd want to do it. You know, who doesn't want to be in an Avengers movie if you can?
All right. So we've talked about Thor, Ant-Man, Captain Marvel, Captain America, Spider-Man. Now we go on to another Marvel. I think the second best Disney Plus Marvel series, Ms. Marvel.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think they are I think they, being the folks over at Marvel, I think they are very big on Kamala Khan. I think they like this character a lot. You could see it with the video games that they made. I don't think she takes on a major role in this film, but I think there's a good 75% chance that we see, good Canadian girl, by the way, that we see Ms. Marvel in Avengers Doomsday. Chris?
I think we see her in here. I don't know if she's a full-fledged Avenger. I think, especially with her trying to, like, make the Young Avengers a thing, I feel like it's yep, we love your enthusiasm. We know that you've done some good work. I don't know if we're ready to have you in here, kid. But I think she's absolutely in the movie.
Okay, yeah, I think there's a really strong chance she's in the movie. Rob?
I agree with Chris. I think she'll be in it, but she'll get killed. First time she goes into battle against whomever. I mean, she just doesn't have the experience.
Depends on, well, remember, it's been years now since that series came
but
out.
they-
So
I mean,
it
maybe
depends
they'll-
how much they say she's grown in that.
I think she's a delightful character, and I like her a lot, Amon Vellani.
Iman
And she-
Vellani,
I
yep.
thought she's great. I just don't know about, but I think she's going to be in the movie for sure.
All
Look,
right.
they're going to put everybody in this movie.
Yeah.
Next up.
They didn't have anyone else to.
This is one of the ones I'm going to say it's 100%. And I've been complaining about the absence of this character since they first showed up. Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi, who apparently is in possession of things so powerful, a bunch of the top Avenger characters had to come together to try to figure out what, and truly how unlimited is the power with the 10 rings. I love this character. I still think I'm in the minority on this, and that's fine. It's always lonely being right. I think Shang-Chi is the best Marvel movie since Endgame. I don't think there's been a better one since. And I say that with great respect for Guardians 3 and Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah. And I thought the Marvels was going to directly connect with the rings.
So did
it
I.
seemed like that was the through line, but
And they did have some connections in
Little
there.
bit,
They had some vague things, but let's put it this way. I will be shocked if Shang-Chi is not in the Avengers Endgame, or Doomsday, I should say. What do you think?
100%. I think
It is
100% he's
100%.
going to be in the film.
Yeah.
You know?
9-9. He, like Rob said before, you need people with actual power. It
Yep.
makes sense.
And he'll be one of them. All right. Let's move on to this. They're not here yet, but they are coming. And where their movie ends, we're not really sure. But do the Fantastic Four appear in Avengers Doomsday? Because before I give you my percentage, there is an argument to be made that the events of Doomsday may open them coming into the universe and then be there for, say, Avengers Secret Wars, that maybe they aren't in the first one. I think everybody agrees that they're going to appear in one or both of the two, but will they be there in Doomsday? I'm going to say only 60%. So I do think they will be, but I actually think there might be a chance they're saved for
Secret Wars.
Secret Wars.
Yeah.
But I'm still I would lean towards them being there. I don't know, Chris, what do you think?
I feel like the knee-jerk reaction is Doomsday. Well, of course they're going to be there. It's got Doom in the title. We're not counting like a post-credit situation as being
not
in the
counting
movie.
post-credit.
Okay, then no, I don't. I think it's under 50%.
So you're going to go under 50. So
Yeah.
you're going to say it's less
I'm
than
gonna say it's
likely.
less. Yeah.
Rob, what about you?
100%.
100% they're going to be there.
100%. And whatever happens at the end of Fantastic Four is going to lead into this.
Okay.
Yeah,
And not only
that's
that,
the other. That's why I lean on
the
60%.
Fantastic Four could be utilized the way the Guardians of the Galaxy were utilized in Infinity War and Endgame.
The chat is saying they're confirmed to be in there. Is that true, or is that the chat feeling feelings? Guys, I need a source.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll look on IMDb, but that's not always.
No.
because
Well,
the-
IMDb isn't accurate,
Yeah.
so.
because the Avengers, I mean, they can have other teams, just like the Guardians were in Infinity War and Endgame, being the Guardians of the Galaxy, but they were part of what was going on. I mean, they were on Titan fighting Thanos, so there's no reason to believe that the Fantastic Four are not going to be in this film, because we know that Doctor Doom is also coming from a different Earth.
By the way, some people are saying Feige actually said at Comic-Con that Fantastic Four will be in Doomsday.
Oh, well,
I don't remember him saying that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't remember it. That's fine. There are things I don't remember sometimes. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. Again, talking about power, talking about level. Wasn't an OG, but getting close. Doctor Strange. Now, Doctor Strange is not a member of the Avengers, but that's fine. We're really more talking about who's going to be in this Avengers movie. Benedict has talked a lot about how Doctor Strange isn't even really a member of the Avengers. He's Avengers adjacent sort of thing. Again, I think the most automatic person that's going to be there is Sam Wilson. I think the second most automatic person is Doctor Strange. I just don't see you doing this film without him, Rob.
100%. I mean, I don't know where he is right now.
He's gone off into
But,
the
I
thing
mean,
with Charlize
yeah.
Theron.
We
He's
have
in
the
the
whole
cosmos.
phrase. I mean, he said, I can get you on the lunchbox. I think the first person you get on the lunchbox is himself.
I was
Right.
gonna bring this up of the hubris, the audacity.
I mean,
Well, it is Stephen Strange. He's
I mean-
got a lot of both of that.
True.
Yeah, and I think that after the events of Infinity War and Endgame, whether he's an honorary, there is no Avengers team right now.
Right.
So they're going to put one together, and he's going to be an Avenger. I mean, he's one of the core members of the Avengers, not from the very beginning, but he became one, and I think he has to be.
All right. This is going to be an interesting one. I'm going to be curious to see what you guys say about this. Got their own Disney Plus series. Little Miss Walters. She-Hulk.
She twerk.
All right. I'm going to tell you right now, if the question were, should she be in this movie, I would say yes.
Yeah.
I desperately did not like the series, but I really like the character. And I like Tatiana Maslany as Jen Walters. I really liked her playing the role. I think there's loads of potential with the character. I liked the character despite the fact that I didn't like the show. I think there could be a very fun place for her. So I think she should be in there. But I don't think she will be.
Yeah.
I don't think she's going to be in it. Although, again, I'll say it again. I think she should be. The character is great. The show, people in the live chat, learn how to make the distinction between how did the show overall turn out with this, how good are some of the individual pieces. Her as this character, I think, is great. I think she should be there. I'm going to lean that I don't think she will be. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, this is another one of those kind of 50%ers of, I'd love to see her in here. I want a Hulk on the team. But I feel like with how the show did and the reception of that show too has just kind of marred the character, which is a really big shame because She-Hulk is very interesting and she is a delightful actress and wonderful in this role. She just needs a better vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, the writing is what really let She-Hulk down. Anyway, Rob, I'm saying she should be there, but I don't think she will be. What do you think?
I think she absolutely. I'm going to go 80%, but
Oh,
I don't
really?
But I don't necessarily think she's going to be an Avenger. I think she'll
Which
be
is fine, but in the movie.
I think she'll be in the movie,
Okay.
and I think there's going to be a lot of things about it when she's in the movie. There's going to be jokes made about how I'd like to join the Fantastic Four instead of the Avengers.
Oh, that would be interesting. Because she is.
Yes,
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
she was a member of the Fantastic Four
A
once.
key
I like
member
that
of the
a lot.
Fantastic
She'd
Four.
say, you know what, I like these costumes. That she'll make some joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. About to have their debut on Disney Plus in just a couple of weeks. Matt Murdock, Daredevil. Now, the argument against is that there's a number of characters on here who are not exactly high on the power scale. Daredevil is what has been referred to as a street level character, or as he likes to put it, a human level character. But one cannot discount the character's popularity. This is going to be, I think, a big show for Disney Plus. And I'm going to believe Daredevil will be in this Avengers movie. I don't know that he's going to be an Avenger,
Right.
but I'm going to go 65%. 65% that Daredevil is going to be in Avengers Doomsday. Chris, what do you think?
In it? Maybe. But an Avenger? Surely not. I don't know, like 40%. I just don't see him playing with everybody in that. I don't know.
Now, lest we forget, we covered on this show, remember that Charlie Cox's trainer put up on his Instagram, oh, I'm training him for an Avengers movie, which I mean, he may have been speaking out of turn. He may not.
Right.
Maybe he
Oh,
was just
yeah.
thinking about the Daredevil series. Who
Yeah.
knows? But that was out there.
Yeah.
So
Matt
I'm going to
Murdock
go,
probably
I'm going to
can
go
show up.
65. What do you think, Rob?
I think he's absolutely going to be in the movie, but like Chris, I don't think he's going to be an Avenger. And remember, this is called Doomsday, so it's not just going to be a big fight.
Yeah.
There's going to be a whole. I would imagine that Doctor Doom knows who Daredevil is. There'll be some kind of character interaction. So I definitely think he's going to be in the movie, and he's definitely going to be in Secret Wars.
All right. Just got a couple more left here. We already talked about She-Hulk. Now let's talk about the most nerfed and misused character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The guy who should be the nuclear option. But now he attends family barbecues in Hawaiian shirts. Hulk. I'm going to go back. I'm going to think this is an absolute certainty. Again, I'm going to lean back on with all the flood of new faces. Keeping some of the OG Avengers in there is going to be key. There is no, talking about need a big power level. There's no bigger power level than that if you do him right. Hulk, but they need to figure out a way to give him his split personality again. They got to get back to Savage Hulk. And I don't mind the Hulk we got in the first Avengers movie, right? I don't mind a focused Hulk where he knows what side he's on. But other than that, okay, you can beat up the bad guys, but if you're Thor standing beside Hulk, you better keep your eye open because he still might. That was one of the greatest moments in Avengers, by the way. When out of nowhere, he just cheap shots Thor. But I think you got to have him there, and please don't nerf him anymore. Give us Hulk again. But either way, whether they misuse him again or whether they start using him right again, I think he's going to be there. Chris, what do you think?
I just like that Mark in the chat was like, but what about his kid with his dumb haircut? What about him?
You can kill him. Kill him. You know what? Have Doomsday kill
No.
fucking stupid idiot bulk haircut
Why is your
Hulk boy. Kill him.
option is always to murder children?
Because it's the best. Killing children in
It's really
movies
interesting
is
that
the
the one
best.
person in this room who doesn't want children is not into murdering them. It's very interesting to me. I don't know. I genuinely don't know because of how he is now with the Professor Hulk nonsense. And
They have to
then-
fix that.
Yeah, but then why would you allow yourself to have that happen to you? Like narratively, why would Banner go, you know what? I should go back to Hulk 1.0. I don't like having control of
I'm
my
sure it wouldn't
powers
be
and
by
feelings
choice.
and thoughts.
I think it would have to be. It would. They'd have
Something
to
would
have it
happen
something
to
that
him.
happens to him rather than a choice. And you know what? If you want to set up somewhere down the line, World War Hulk,
Yeah.
two things have to happen. You got to get a little bit of duality in him again, and you got to kill his kid. You got to kill his kid. If you want there to be a World War Hulk sometime down the line, you got to kill his kid. I'm just gonna say.
See
Rob.
now. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Jonathan.
Well, I was gonna say that would have been something for the leader to do.
Yeah.
Is manipulate Green Hulk by offing his kid to release a nuclear weapon into the world.
Yeah, could be. Rob, what do you think about Hulk showing up?
100%.
100%.
Not only that, in Secret Wars, since we're talking Avengers, in Secret Wars, Eric Bana and Ed Norton are coming back, and there's going to be a moment when there's 3 Hulks.
Okay. You
But those
do
are the
know
same character.
there is no chance in hell they're going to work with Ed Norton again, right?
Maybe. I didn't think they would ever work with Wesley Snipes again either.
That's a good point. That's actually a really good point.
Neither did Wesley Snipes. He's like, well, maybe if you could do it.
All right. Let's move on to
Besides,
this.
how cool would that be? Big moment. The heroes are going to lose. Suddenly, you've got 3 Hulks show up together. I brought some friends. Come on, that's an Avengers Assemble moment.
That's
That
Secret
would be
Wars,
pretty
though.
good.
And especially if you show all.
Yeah, maybe that's more Secret Wars
That's
than
what I mean.
Doomsday.
No, it's totally Secret
Yeah,
Wars.
yeah.
We're talking Doomsday. You said
Yeah, yeah,
Avengers, but can you imagine you see those 3 guys and you could just see Ruffalo come up over a hill?
Now you got to
He
deal
goes,
with 3 Hulks.
I brought some friends.
Oh,
Ed Norton comes over, Eric Bana comes over, and they all turn into Hulks looking very a little bit different. And they,
Right.
come on, man. I just want to see
but
that
then that's
in
the
my
end.
lifetime.
Because what's going to fight 3 Hulks?
I mean, that's the thing. That's
Yeah.
that's when you're down and out. You're down for the count. It's a on your left moment. The portal's open and boom, 3
All right.
Hulks.
We got a few more we got to get through here.
By the way,
Here's a
Marvel, you can use
character
that.
that a lot of people thought this character's story arc had been brought to a conclusion. But then the screen goes black and said, Star-Lord will return. Talking about Peter Quill's Star-Lord, who again, if it wasn't for that last second black screen text, I would have said, probably not. They're probably done. It seems like Star-Lord, he's reunited with his grandfather. He's back on Earth. The Guardians we knew have disbanded, all that kind of stuff. But they went out of their way at the end of Guardians 3 to put up that last little bit of text, Star-Lord will return. Because of that, I don't see what else he comes back in. I'm going to say coin toss. I'm going to say the 50-50 shot that Star-Lord will show up in this. Rob, what do you think?
100%.
Oh, you think 100%?
And again, he doesn't have to be a part of the Avengers. He will do. There will be something he will facilitate or have to be in or something.
Yeah.
There's going to be something going on.
Chris?
I agree with Rob. Avengers Assembled comes to mind, right? Of
Yeah.
him helping out with Dormammu and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
yeah, I think he's there. I just don't think he's a lunchbox boy.
All right.
Lunchbox boy.
Yeah.
Next up, going back
Oh boy.
to a potential OG Avenger. Somebody who I actually think there's we were talking about Captain America the other day, and I said, I don't really see Sam Wilson as the leader, but then again, I can't see Thor as the leader. I can't see Doctor Strange as the leader. A lot of people, I don't have a lot of good options as to who could be the leader of the Avengers, except for maybe Hawkeye. Hawkeye, again, military background, like he is an OG Avenger.
Became a murderer.
Became a mass murderer. But he only killed bad guys.
That's true.
And let's not forget, one of the big problems with the Avengers was when Loki turned him, he gave the whole Avengers fits. I mean, he was a problem for the Avengers. What do you think about us seeing Hawkeye back now that he's fully recovered from his accident? We're talking about the actor, not the character. He's back. He's doing stuff again. Man, this is one of those ones where I absolutely think he should be there. I think it's a coin toss that he does. So I'm not going to go negative. I'm not going to go positive. I'm going to say straight up 50-50 like I did with Star-Lord. Rob, what do you think about Hawkeye being there?
I think he kind of has to be there because his omission would be glaring.
Yeah.
And again, he could be a tactician. He could be behind the scenes if he's not up for it physically. But I definitely think he's going to be. Look, opening Endgame with that scene with Hawkeye is one of the great choices anybody ever made in a fantasy film.
So powerful
in the history of Hollywood. That it was an incredible moment, and Renner delivers the goods. And I think that he's
so good.
He's so good. And I think that to not have him in the movie would be a mistake.
Chris?
Yeah. I feel like he has to be there, but then because of the things he's done, I think Clint himself would still have a few issues of, I don't know if I should be on the lunchbox. Happy to help you kids out. Love being a hero. Constantly trying to redeem myself because we had the show.
I mean, Bucky Barnes is running for U.S. Congress.
And people know what Bucky did. Nobody knows what Roman did.
He's a pretty bad murderer.
And there's a big difference between being a politician and a hero.
This is true. This is true.
I don't know. He'd be a government agency like that.
I mean,
nobody knows about his murder.
Not trying to get political at all. I'm just going to remind us all when we talked about this with Bucky. We do live in a world right now where Americans just elected a convicted felon as president. So is it that big of a stretch to think in the comic book world that can be overlooked or forgiven?
No, I'm saying Clint's own morals would be, I don't know if I should be a seen member of this team still.
He seemed to be over it by the time we got to the Hawkeye series.
Ended, but again, I'm saying if it comes down to like his discomfort watching the musical, right? And things like that of, I don't see myself as that guy still. He's made amends and he's done a lot of heroic work, but I still think there's going to be an issue of like, do I hang out at Avengers campus? Do I do all of this? Do I put my family in danger again? I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm making the mistake of thinking of this in a character-driven way.
Right. No, and that's the way you should. All right. It can't be T'Challa, but our own Jeff Snyder's reporting that maybe it would be a T'Challa, but Black Panther, the Shuri version. Listen, Wakanda's becoming an important place, an important piece in the world of the MCU. I think it would be and I'm somebody who wasn't the biggest fan of Black Panther 2, but I think it would be very jarring with a more integrated into the rest of the world Wakanda to not have the current Black Panther show up. So I'm going to say 90% that the Shuri Black Panther shows up. Chris, what do you think?
Real quick, I just want to double check. It's Doomsday, then Secret Wars?
Yes.
Right.
Then yes. I think we'll see her there. And then if the casting rumors are true, if the recast of T'Challa, then that's when we have that person
probably would be
take the mantle
Wars.
Again. Yeah. But I think you'd have Shuri in there.
Rob?
I absolutely think Shuri's going to be in there, and I think Wakanda's a major player. Wakanda was a major player in Infinity War and Endgame. I think that we're definitely going to see, like, first of all, you have two Black Panther movies, and you have a Wakanda series coming. Wakanda is a major part of the MCU, and everybody in it. I think we're going to see M'Baku. I think we're going to see the Dora Milaje.
Yeah. Please,
Hot Toys, make those Dora Milaje figures, please, before I die. I think it's going to happen.
All right. I got 3 left on my list here. What could arguably be the single most ridiculously overpowered character the Marvel Cinematic Universe has ever seen. Straight out of the hit TV series Secret Invasion, Gaia. You know what we need? We need somebody who has all the powers. Gaia showing up in this. All right. Not only should this character not show up, I don't think Marvel will ever mention the events of Secret Invasion ever again.
No.
I think they know that show was a disaster. I think they know they made plenty of mistakes that thankfully can be isolated and they can just ignore. What happened to Gaia? She flew off. She's out there. I think it would be a monumental mistake to ever bring that character back again. I do not think she'll be back. I'm going to go a big fat, my only on this list, Easter egg, 0% chance they bring back the all-powerful Gaia. Chris, what do you think?
I think that's only my definitive, there's no way. It'll be a cold, cold day in hell. Because that'd just be stupid.
She went the way of Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Rob, Gaia.
Not in Doomsday.
But you think she could show up in Secret Wars?
I think she could. I think she could. The Super Skrull, whatever, call it what you want. Something. Maybe.
All right.
And poor Amelia Clark.
We need. I know. I mean, she gets in these movies. I mean, she thinks I'm in Terminator Genesis.
Yeah.
And I like her.
I do too.
Oh, I mean, she. You know what? No, I was about to say something that isn't true. I don't think she's that good of an actress. I think she was absolutely phenomenal in Game of Thrones. I'm listening, guys. I'm just calling it as I see it. I have not been impressed with any of her work since then. And I didn't think she was all that good in that Terminator movie. I didn't think she was all that good in the Sick Boy movie. I can't even remember the name of the movie.
Last
now.
Christmas or Me Before You?
Last Christmas was another abomination.
That one was terrible.
Yeah.
Me Before You.
That was, yes. Yeah.
I think she's charming in that.
But you know, I really like her though as a person. Anyway, all right. At one point, Kevin Feige even teased he was changing the name of his Marvel Cinematic Universe to the Wong Cinematic Universe.
Honestly,
And
should.
Madison.
Yes, Madison's on the lunchbox.
For now, Wongers. I got to agree. Wong seemingly has become the replacement for Fury as the connective tissue for the MCU. And the actor's name actually is Wong.
Right.
I've loved this character since the first Doctor Strange. He's just so great and fun. And he is, remember, as of right now, he is the MCU's Sorcerer Supreme. I don't think there's any doubt. Again, most absolute will be Captain America. Next absolute's probably Doctor Strange. Right up there, too, I think it's got to be Wong. I don't think there's any doubt Wong's in this. Chris, what do you think?
Oh, he'll be in there. He's got to be. He's in charge of so much stuff.
And rebuilding all the sorcerers after they were all murdered.
Yeah.
Rob?
100%.
100%.
Yeah, the Wongers got to be in this movie. He's an MVP.
Well, now, to Jonathan's joke, does Madison show up? Probably
God,
not.
I hope so.
It's too serious of a tone. Listen, I would watch a Wong and Madison series in a heartbeat, but I don't think the tone for this matches Madison being in it.
If they don't make her the school counselor for the Magic School show, what are we even doing here?
What are we doing?
I mean, they could be with each other like Netflixing, like actually Netflixing, and not Netfluxing.
But can you do that in
But-
Doomsday?
But
So would
only
you
at the
do it?
beginning when he gets called away,
Okay.
and not too heavy about it. But I at the same time, no, I was joking.
All right. Last one I got. And then I'm going to see if you guys think I missed any. Any members of the Eternals. MCU movie that I think is underrated. I don't think it's one of the best MCU movies, but I think it's an underrated movie. At the end we saw Cersei and Kingo, and who was the third that got taken away? Was it the little girl? I can't remember. But
No, because she wants to. She becomes mortal.
oh,
right?
that's
Yeah.
right. She stays. That's
Yeah.
right. 100. Whew,
It was.
I would like to see a member of the Eternals in there, particularly Kingo. Like
It feels like they're trying to keep him in the mix
Yeah.
because of What If.
I like him, and that's a good point.
Barry Keoghan's character, maybe.
I'm still going to say 30%. 30%. And I'm not even counting Black Knight in this.
Right.
I'm just like members of the Eternals. I'm going to say I would love to see Kingo in there, but I'm going to say 30%. Rob?
Yeah, I think there's gonna be some Eternal at some point in that. I think 30% is probably good.
Chris?
Something.
That seems fair.
Okay, so none of us think it's likely that we're
No.
going to see one there.
But I sure do like him.
All right, so that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's like 15 names I threw out there. Is there any names that you guys think I like
Yeah.
glaringly omitted or left
Yes.
out?
Yes.
Okay, Rob, let's go to you.
Namor.
Oh, that was not what I was thinking of. But yeah, you're right.
If
He's
it's Doomsday,
pretty high powered.
if it's Doomsday, I don't think Doctor Doom can have any nefarious plans without involving Atlantis.
There's this
Or Namor.
great scene in the comics. It's in the events leading up to Secret Wars and everything, where Namor goes to Victor Von Doom to talk about, hey, we've got this big problem coming, and we're really going to need your help. And in the most Doctor Doom moment ever in comics, Doctor Doom refuses to help simply because Namor asked Reed Richards first. Do you remember that scene? He goes to Latveria and Namor comes in and and it's like, wait, you're not going to help just because we asked Reed first? And that is like the most Doom moment ever. I'll say 50% for Namor.
Okay.
Namor.
That's a good name to bring up, though.
I was gonna say anybody off of this team, or is it the team show up like Guardians did in
That's true.
Avengers?
The Thunderbolts. I mean, do any of them survive?
You can see
We'll
U.S.
find
Agent
out.
in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't see U.S. Agent on the or in the Avengers movie.
No, but I mean they
I
show
could
up
see
as the
Yelena.
Thunderbolts.
Elena could be in there.
Mm-hmm.
Bucky.
Yeah.
I
I
think
don't
there's a
see
good
them
chance.
on the Avengers, but showing up how Guardians of the Galaxy showed up and helped the Avengers, right? Because the Guardians weren't in
Yeah.
the Avengers just because they were in
Yeah.
the movie.
They're just
They're still
they're
the
there.
Guardians.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you right now, if Red Guardian doesn't survive Thunderbolts, I'm going to riot. I think
Yeah,
he
I
is
don't want some sacrificial send off for Yelena to be like, go live a good life. Like, come on.
It seems like they're setting it up for that.
I also just want to point out, how do you make the greatest disruption of the ocean since the Earth was created, the Sentinel Island, and not have
Celestial Island.
the Celestial Island, pardon me, and not have the Atlanteans involved in mining rights? When they could just, I mean, they could be underneath.
Yeah,
that,
they're underneath
stealing
it.
all the adamantium.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was another thing. I'm watching this, and I'm like, how is Atlantis not involved in this?
But wasn't Atlantis like this is in the Indian Ocean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
isn't
but,
that
I mean, it's not
fairly
like-
far away from
Heck of a
Pelican
commute,
is?
Rob.
They were far away from Wakanda too.
Oh,
they
yeah.
go around Cape Horn, head out into the Pacific. They have the technology. It's just another way the MCU has been letting me down.
Chris, do you have any characters you think I omitted from the list?
Is Rhodey going to be in the mix?
Oh,
He should be. That's a huge submission from my list. I mean, he's not OG Avenger, but he's literally he is OG Marvel.
They have to retcon the fact that it was actually Rhodey who hurt his leg.
That's true.
They can get around that though by playing with how long was he in Secret Invasion. Like they could literally get around to saying he was in there for a week, or he's in there for a month, or he's in there for 10 years. I mean, they would have to do some fiddling with that to just ignore that series, that series ever happened.
Because, yeah, that implication of, wait, it was a scroll the whole time?
Yeah.
I hate.
Hate it.
All right, guys. Well, that's kind of our rundown of who we see potentially being in Avengers Doomsday on the Lunchbox. Who is going to be there? Were there some names that you thought we left off that should be considered strong contenders? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our program, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Indeed. We want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's episode, Indeed. Okay, so you just realized your business needed to hire somebody like yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs helps you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for the right candidates so you can reach the best talent faster. And it works. Indeed's data shows that sponsored jobs get 45% more application than non-sponsored jobs. The thing I'm impressed most with Indeed is how fast it makes hiring. When I was looking to hire somebody for the John Campea Show, the process felt slow and overwhelming. I hate it. I wish I had used Indeed. And you want to know how fast Indeed is? In just the minute that I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed worldwide. So don't wait. Speed up your hiring now with Indeed. And for listeners of this show, you get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Campea. Just go to Indeed.com/Campea and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed here. That's Indeed.com/Campea. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. And thank you to our friends at Indeed for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. And thank you to Chris and Rob, who just walked out the door over there. Welcoming in Ray Ora, sitting in now in his chair with the Robert
our
Meyer
asses
Burnett.
out.
And now let's get on to the main thing here, taking your comments and questions, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
CJ Adams says, a while ago, we were wondering if Fantastic Four came from 616, given that we see Ben Grimm looking at a recording of them before the launch on a storefront TV when he looked human. I think it's safe to say the initial trip doesn't universe hop.
I'm not so sure anything's safe to say. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, there is a theory out there that the Fantastic Four, Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben, they come from the main Marvel Cinematic Universe from the 60s. And then they did go off, but this was before they were superheroes. And they did go off on a space mission. But in that space mission, they got sucked into something where they went into another reality and then became the Fantastic Four in that reality. And at some point in this movie, they'll come back to their Earth. It's an interesting theory. I don't think anything in it, like you were saying, I don't think anything in it is particularly clear, but it is one of the more interesting theories. We'll see how that works out. All right, what's next?
Okay, Robot Man. I've seen Captain America 4 twice. Once with my dad and brother, and again with sister and mom included. Both times I enjoyed it. We could not stop talking about it. So would you vote for Bucky Barnes for Senate? My dad said yes, and I agreed.
Absolutely not.
I think he's a congressman.
Like,
but, yeah.
here's the thing. For 100 years, that guy was mind controlled. And then when you thought he was over the mind control, turns out he had even deeper programming in his brain that they were then able to go in and manipulate. Again and again, would I vote for government? Somebody who, for all we know, there could be even deeper programming in their brain? No, I would not. I love Bucky. But would I vote for him for government? Absolutely not. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, regarding yesterday's post, the UK has a problem. Jodie Comer was lucky, but London is now more expensive than New York, and RADA is expensive. Colleges like Paul McCartney's LIPA is trying to help, but casting directors want to hire actors trained in London. Unfortunately, acting has become a career for the middle class and rich. You will find many have gone to posh boarding schools, never used to be everyone good be an actor. Hence why Dame Judi Dench and Julie Waters and Kenneth Branagh are campaigning. Yeah, because they didn't, they came from different walks of life for sure. It's not just working class actors, but the music business. A lot of the new singers are middle class or from the London Brit School. UK used to have bands like Oasis, Arctic Monkeys. Sam Fender is one of the few modern working class singers today.
Again, it's not something I'm not from the UK. I don't understand it. It's so precious few people in both the entertainment and in the music industry who actually can break through to get something that I'm not quite sure how much of a difference it makes. That being said, in the world of entertainment, I know in the United States, I still, a lot of the big bands that break through and a lot of actors break through come from very, very humble beginnings. But it's an interesting thing that's taken. Again, I've never even heard of it till somebody brought it up the other day. I think it's going to be really interesting to keep our eyes on that and see how that evolves. All right, what's next?
Robot Man says, I feel like the MCU is revving up. Captain America 4 was good, but Thunderbolts is going to be great, and I think Fantastic Four is going to be fantastic. If I could live with the Thunderbolts for a week or a weekend, I would.
Yeah, again, I unfortunately don't think Captain America Brave New World was all that good. I don't think it's like the worst MCU movie. I don't think it was a terrible movie, but I was let down by it. I even though there are some very, very good things in it, I thought the negatives outweighed the positive. If you want a fuller discussion about that, go back and check out our Captain America 4 open spoiler discussion that we did this past weekend. Anyway, that being said, I still think the future looks very bright for the MCU. Again, Captain America 4 was kind of the last vestige of movies that got made under the guiding principles of Bob Chapek, who's now gone. The make as much as you can, as fast as you can mentality when it came to content. I think Daredevil is going to be great. I think Thunderbolts is going to be awesome. And I think Fantastic Four is going to be great. I'm looking forward to all three. And again, I said this before, even before Captain America 4 opened, I just never got the sense. I'll say it again. And most people agree with me. Even people who like the movie agree with me that I never got the sense that Marvel was particularly excited about this movie. Mm-hmm. But I do get the sense that they're quite excited for Daredevil, and they're quite excited for Thunderbolts, and they're quite excited for Fantastic Four. So I think the future of the MCU right now is looking really good. Ultimately, we'll see how good the projects are, though. All right, what's next?
Logan says, I love your comments on bringing Hawkeye back to lead the Avengers. Maybe think of another previous team lead that is hanging out in Missouri, Star-Lord. I could see him jumping in at an invite for the Avengers.
Yeah,
That
I
was
mean,
posted
like,
yesterday. So.
he worked with the Avengers. They fought alongside them at the battle in Endgame. He's from Earth and he's back. And if they say he taps into some of that genetic celestial power that he has, he could be formidable. So I really do. And again, they went so far out of their way at the end of Guardians 3 to put up on the screen, Star-Lord will return. And he hasn't returned yet, so they clearly had a plan. I think he shows up there. All right, what's next?
Garden Variety says, saw a digital poster for Doomsday from Marvel. Of note, were Scarlett Johansson, Shang-Chi, and Sylvie. Also, it looks like a female Black Panther. Plus, is that a character above Daredevil? If so, who? But that's not official, though.
It's not real.
Yeah.
Whatever it is you're referring to is fan-made. So, yeah, don't worry about it. All right, what's next?
Tristan says, speaking of wisdom teeth being pulled, I had 6 teeth pulled. 2 of them were hiding in my gums. So, yeah, sometimes you can produce more, and you got to go up higher.
Man, I'll tell you what. I had to get wisdom teeth getting pulled. Not fun. Root canals today are actually not that bad. The dentists are so good now. I almost fell asleep when I had to get a root canal once. But I had to get an implant. Because like in one of my Muay Thai things, it was my own fault, totally my own fault. But I got my chip cracked and broken, and they tried to salvage it for about a year, and they realized, you know what, it's just got to come out. You need to get an implant. That was the worst. I cannot put into accurate words that feeling when you literally, and they numb you up as good as they can, but you literally feel them drilling this big screw into your skull face. And you're sitting there and you're numbed up. Yeah, but you feel this screw being drilled into your skull. That becomes the anchor for your crown, right? And that is something I would never want to go through again. I would never, ever want to go through that again. That was awful. But again, wisdom teeth being pulled, no fun either. All right, what's next?
Okay, Anonymous says, as a Buffy fan and a girl of the 90s, having a superhero of our age was brilliant. I have heard a new show might be her training a new Slayer. Can we not have that? It would be great to have a story about an older woman as a superhero. We've got lots of older actors playing superheroes, i.e. Pascal, RDJ, Ruffalo. Plus, we have young girls with superpowers like Miss Marvel. Many Buffy fans I've spoken to agree we want a proper, mature story, not a teen-focused one on a new Slayer.
I'm not a big Buffy fan. I was actually more of an Angel guy. I really liked Angel more than I like Buffy, but I've spoken to a bunch of Buffy fans that do like the idea of seeing her passing the torch. Still focus on her. For those of you who don't know, Sarah Michelle Gellar has come out and confirmed they're doing a relaunch of Buffy. And now Buffy's older. The key thing is writing a great story, whether that story is about just Buffy or whether the story is about Buffy training up a new Slayer or whether it's about Buffy doing this or that. It doesn't matter. You just got to write it really well. And if you write it really well, it can be great. You got to remember, Buffy at the time was made for a teenage audience. If you want to some people would argue if you want to stay true to the spirit of the Buffy show, you also make it again for the teenage audience. The counter argument to that is no, it should be made for the people who did watch Buffy at the time. I think the truth is somewhere in between. At the end of the day, I don't think it matters whether it's about Buffy just being Buffy or Buffy training a new generation or whatever. I don't think it matters. You just got to make sure you write a good, compelling story around whatever your premise is. Remember, premise doesn't make your movie good or bad. You got to write excellent script around the premise. And if they do that, should be fine. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Cobra Kai Never Dies, one of two. And this isn't a spoiler, I read it. Hey guys, John, I know you're not a fan of Cobra Kai, but I'd like to share an Easter egg with you. I saw watching the finale yesterday. The co-creators were sitting in a cafe discussing Back to the Future. It would be set in Hill Valley, an alternate 1985. Hurwitz says, all we need are Wilson and Thompson and Zane, and we've got the green light. And maybe bringing in Crispin. What are your thoughts on this? Considering it's an alternative 1985, it could be like a prequel to the events of what we saw in Back to the Future 2 and de-aging. I don't think you de-age personally. I think you just eventually remake it if you're going to go down the Back to the Future route.
Yeah. So first of all, I don't care about anything that happens in Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
But secondly, no, if you were to ever do a Back to the Future, it's a reboot.
Yeah.
You got to do a reboot.
And
I'm not saying you have to do a reboot. I'm saying if you want another Back to the Future, then you have to reboot because you can't, unfortunately, you're not going to get your original Marty back. It's just not going to happen. So it would be a reboot. And listen, I'm all for doing a reboot. But everybody knows I'm very pro reboot. Because if a reboot ends up being bad, who cares? No harm, no foul.
Yeah, I hate the argument of they ruined the original for me. How?
Guess what? I've seen many bad reboots, and it's not taken 1 ounce away from how good the original is.
Yeah.
It's a lame, stupid argument that has no truth and no basis in fact. And if you get a good reboot, then great. We have another good movie to celebrate and enjoy. So at some point, I absolutely think they should try rebooting Back to the Future. And if it turns out to be crap, oh well, turns out to be crap. We'll forget about it. If it turns out to be good, great. It carries on the legacy of Back to the Future for everybody. There's literally no downside. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Elon. I've been watching a lot of home movies clips today, or lately. An old Adult Swim show by Brandon Small, who worked on I can never say this. Metalocalypse. Rest in peace, John Schnepp. It's a beautiful fever dream from my childhood with real dialogue, with cutoffs like Smiling Friends, Midnight Gospel, Space Ghost, Coast to Coast. What are your favorite movies or shows that have that same feel? It's refreshing to hear conversations that are not, this is a movie and the plot must continue. And then goes on to say, well, Chris isn't here, but Chris, if it wasn't for Milana Vaintrub, you would have been a great voice for Squirrel Girl. And Ray, we love you very much. You're freaking awesome.
I'll be honest, I don't know what the question is.
I don't really either.
What's the question? Like, what is my favorite show that makes me feel good?
I guess like in a
That where it's not like he's saying. Oh, part of the problem is it's not it's not tied to like stories or like it has to. I think he mentioned something about, what do you say? It does the story or whatever. You don't have it. Does it's not bogged
well, it's
down.
just
But
insular to itself.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, nostalgia wise.
By the way, going to the user's name, Elon cheats at video games. Did you see what happened with that?
Oh no.
So
I don't even know the story.
Elon made this.
oh, okay. I know. Is it League of
Elon-
Legends? It's
And by
about
the way,
League-
I am the owner of 2 Tesla cars. I like his cars very much. I love his position on global warming and all
And
kinds
space.
Of. So
I love his space exploration stuff.
Here's the thing, though. He made this claim that he was like a top 10 ranked Diablo player in the world.
I think it was League of Legends.
Or was it legal?
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was Diablo, but okay,
Yeah.
just for now, let's just say Diablo,
Okay,
but it might
yeah.
have been League of Legends or something else, right? Or was it Path of Exiles? Anyway,
Right.
so he made this claim that I'm the top ranked guy and blah, 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 blah. Well, then he got busted because he was literally at a press conference event, I think with President Trump. And at the same time, his account was online playing the game. It wasn't him playing the game. So he's, anyway, I just
Maybe it
thought
was
that
Leroy
was
Jenkins.
Leroy Jenkins.
You know what? He could have been playing the account. You know what I mean? But then, like when there needs to be something done in these types of games, you have to be like do things like at a certain time.
He pays a ghost
He
player.
has more than enough money to get someone to get on.
Well, that's what I'm
and
saying.
play.
I don't believe for a
He
second
wants to stay at
that
the
he
top.
got himself
Right.
into the top 10 ranking.
Yeah.
He
Right.
clearly
Of course, he has
cheats.
farmers for him.
So, but what? It's a video game. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
But anyway, I just thought that was funny. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, can we safely say that Matt Damon has terrible sense of direction, which takes his characters years to get home, such as Interstellar, The Martian. Now he's starting the Odyssey, playing Odysseus. Damon has problems with trying to find his way home.
But he bought a zoo.
Oh, that's true.
He was able to find
And
a zoo to
I
buy.
will stick by that movie Till I Die. I love that movie.
That is true. He tends to play characters, has a difficult time getting home. You're right. All right, what's next?
We got God of Nipples. Oh well, this is a bet. We don't take bets from fans. Brian O'Connor says, but nice name, and thank you for the support. But we can't get involved in bets
How do you
with our
become
fans.
that? How do you get anointed that?
Well,
first of all,
a lot of tweaking.
How do you get anointed the God of Nipples?
Yeah, a lot of practice.
He might have a lot of babies, so like the baby bottle nipples.
That's true.
Yeah.
Brian O'Connor says, some are rumors, but I love the names that James Gunn has been attracting to DC. James Mangold, Mike Flanagan, Luca Guadagnino, Damon Lindelof, etc. I appreciate he's looking for lesser experienced filmmakers. This alone makes me very excited. He isn't looking for lesser.
I don't believe for a second that he isn't looking for lesser known filmmakers. I don't believe that for a second. But I just don't think he's mandated himself that it must be lesser known filmmakers. You're definitely going to see some people running DC shows or movies that are names you don't recognize. That is absolutely going to happen. I just think he's been in this industry for a long time. He's got connections with certain people. There's certain people he's already a fan of. And it just turns out that he wants to work with certain people in certain projects. But don't think for a second that James Gunn is excluding lesser known filmmakers. Because at one point, Steven Spielberg was a lesser-known filmmaker. At one point, James Gunn himself was a lesser-known filmmaker. He will definitely use some lesser-known filmmakers. He's just not making a mandate that he must use lesser-known filmmakers. And it'll all shake out. All right, what's next?
Burry Reich says, do you think any of the following post-credit scenes of previous MCU movie Disney Plus will be resolved? Shang-Chi's sister, Star Fox, Black Knight, Doctor Strange, Clea, Hercules, T'Challa's son, X-Men, Beast cameo, Moon Knight. There are a lot.
Well, I mean, that's 50 different topics. I'm not going to go into each one of those. I do think, though, that the rings are definitely going to get addressed, of the 10 rings. Because not only was it made a big post-credit scene there, they have alluded to it in other projects that came later, such as Ms. Marvel, The Marvels. There have been references and Easter eggs and everything pointing to the 10 rings and all that kind of stuff. So they seem to continue to be addressing it. So yes, I do think at some point that one will get resolved. All the other ones we could have full discussions on, but that's the one that I think will definitely get resolved.
Bring those rings back already.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
What's next?
Callum, hey, John and crew, have you watched the SNL 50th anniversary special? It's crazy how many people had on it. One of the best shows they've done for a while. 50 years is crazy.
Did you see it had almost 15 million viewers?
Crazy.
Yeah, I saw
Is it
those.
on Peacock?
Yeah, it was on NBC and
Okay.
Peacock. I think it was like 14.8 million viewers or something like that. It was nuts. I have not. Now, I've watched a couple of clips because
Same.
I was out Saturday night and Sunday,
Same.
but I watched a couple of clips online. We were just talking off camera about the Tom Hanks in memoriam segment they did, which totally got me off guard when they did it. And I thought it was so uncomfortable and so funny. I thought that part was great. Bringing back the alien abduction girl
I know.
was great.
McKinney?
Yeah,
What's
Kate McKinnon.
Yeah.
The Weekend Update was great.
You got to go big for your 50th.
And listen, and I thought Steve Martin's opening monologue, it was perfect to have Steve Martin do the opening, and then Martin Short, the only Canadian not in Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
So I've only seen, I think grand total 15 minutes of it. I haven't seen the whole thing, but I've heard really good things about it, and I couldn't believe how many people watched it. All right, what's next?
Anonymous, hi, John. I recommend you watching Dan Merle's. Well, this is more about the Ninja stuff. Jeff S. in Backwards Bomba. Just the tip. Oh, thank you, man. That was a $10 tip just for
Well,
support.
no, we can do the anonymous one. That's fine.
All right. Recommend watching Dan Merle's recent episode of The Charts with Dan, where he lays out the reasons to believe these are two numbers. The box office tracking there operates independently. That's the problem. It's arguably more transparent than what we have in North America. No,
I disagree with Dan.
independently of the tracking system.
Yeah, I have been borderline obsessed with Rentrack and the whole system of that. Dan is amazing. Dan's absolutely fantastic. I disagree with him on this issue. I do not trust Chinese government reporting Chinese box office numbers of Chinese films. They do not go through the same vetting or fact verification that almost every other territory on the globe does. And again, this is not me saying the numbers for that movie are fake. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when I look at their system of reporting, it does not have the same checks and balances. It does not have the same vetting. It does not have the same verification that other markets go through. And because of that, I just don't, it's not that I'm saying any of them are fake. I'm saying I do not take into my figuring any Chinese reported Chinese movie of Chinese box office. I just don't count it. And I never will. Well, if major changes start to happen and they go through the same vetting process that everybody else does and all the same verifications everything else does, I'll start taking it more seriously. But until that happens, we've talked about a number of movies over the past 5 years. Did you see that this movie in China made this much money? I was like, I don't know that I believe that it did. Again, this is not me making any commentary on the movie itself. It could be amazing. It could be fantastic. I'm certainly not saying it's not. I'm just saying, sorry, I don't take seriously reporting by the Chinese government on Chinese box office of Chinese movies in China. I don't take it seriously. And until they make significant changes, I never will. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says with Transformers 1, oh no, sorry, Swanson Burgundy, almost skipped you. The Gorge will just barely get a thumbs up from me. Best descriptor I have for it, feels like a video game adaptation without a pre-existing video game. Did a double header with that, and Joyride, not as outrageous as I heard, but still funny.
Oh, Joyride to me is, I think, the funniest movie I've seen maybe since 40-Year-Old Virgin. I laughed. I mean, I was in a theater of 5,000 people who just all almost laughed themselves sick. As far as The Gorge, haven't seen it yet still. Ann and I, we had some time last night. We had to make a decision. Do we want to watch The Gorge or do we want to watch the newest episode of Severance? And we decided to watch the newest episode of Severance. So I still got to watch The Gorge. I'll probably do that tonight. All I know is that Rob really loved it. Like, Rob really loved it. But I'm very interested in seeing it and see how I feel about it. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, with Transformers 1 underperforming, it dashed my hopes for a Thundercats movie, animated, not live action. But if He-Man does well, would that trigger reactionary response from the studios to look at 80s cartoons to capitalize on?
I don't know that the two will be connected. First of all, a Thundercats animated movie was never going to do well. That wouldn't do well. A live action Thundercats.
That could be interesting.
That could be interesting. And by the way, if you guys want to see a great video, look up James McAvoy. Look up on YouTube, James McAvoy Thundercats interview. James McAvoy, it's from years ago.
Yeah,
it's
he's
years
pretty
old.
young in it.
But James McAvoy gives this awesome pitch and that he would love to be in a live action Thundercats and why a Thundercats live action movie would be great. I highly encourage you to go look up that interview. It's pretty wonderful and why I would love to see it. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Anonymous. Not that it matters, but do you think the next Dune film will be called Dune Messiah or Dune Part 3? It probably depends on either how many creative liberties Denis takes and or it'll be decided strictly from a marketing perspective.
I think it'll be called Dune Part 3. I think it'll be called Dune Part 3 regardless of how much adaptation Denis does of Dune Messiah to do it. It's going to be based on Dune Messiah. But I think from a purely marketing standpoint, to make sure it's very clear to the audience, this is a continuation of those first two movies. Because remember, too, we also have Dune, what's the name of the series again?
Prophecy.
Dune Prophecy. And I don't think they'll want to get it confused. So my guess, and I'm just guessing here, guys. I'm not saying this is a fact. I'm not reporting anything. This is just me guessing. My guess is it will be called Dune Part 3.
I would prefer that.
Yeah.
Personally.
All right, what's next?
Nicholas, hey John, which of these TV shows are you most excited about coming out this year? Between Daredevil, Andor, and Last of Us. I got my order.
Okay, first of all, absolutely looking forward to all of them.
Yeah.
I would say Andor, Last of Us, Daredevil.
That's my order.
Again, dying to watch all of them. I will probably do after game shows for all of them. I'm definitely going to do one for Daredevil. We'll see how that turns out. I'm gonna do a post shows for each episode that drops. So I'm dying to see. It's really, for me, it's 1A and 1B. But yes, if they were all on today, the order I watch them in is Andor, Last of Us, Daredevil.
Yep.
And you felt the same way, Jonathan?
Exact same.
All right.
Yeah.
What's next?
Clayton, instead of solo X-Men movies, what do you think about X teams like Blue and Gold instead? You'd have a small enough cast for every character to develop, but still a strong ensemble. They could come together later for an Avenger-style team-up.
Nah, you can't market that.
Yeah, you'd have to establish, why are these two separate X-Men
Yeah.
teams?
Now, again, you may go, well, my friends, yeah, but your friends represent 1% of the movie-going audience. Not to mention, then, you can only have so many movies in production at a time, and you don't want to start oversaturating the X title. So you're going to have an X-Men movie this year, but it's X-Men Gold, and then next year it's X-Men this, and next, like, it's going to be X-Men, and it's going to be some individual movies, but you can't overdo it. Don't forget, guys, it's still one studio. It's still one studio that's probably not going to put out more than 3 movies a year, and you still have all the other MCU. You still have all the other MCU, plus all the X-Men characters. They can only do so much, and you're just not, if you try to create 2 different X-Men teams, you're not going to get to develop any of them, because you're only going to get one every 6 years for each set of characters. So I don't think that's the way to go. All right, what's next?
We got Harv's K. Even 60 years of Avengers comics have shown that Cap was the only true leader of the and other Avengers who have led were only holding space for his eventual return. I think the MCU now has the same dilemma. Sam has character, but I doubt he could lift Mjolnir. Only 3 have, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, only Thor has, only Cap has, and then an android did.
Yeah, Vision, yeah.
Which some argue was just because he was a machine, but others because he was truly worthy. Regardless. By the way, being able to lift Mjolnir is not one of the prerequisites for being a leader of the Avengers. Otherwise, Thor would be the leader of the Avengers, and I don't think he can be the leader of the Avengers. But neither do I think. I don't think Thor Odin's son can be the leader of the Avengers. I don't think Sam can realistically be the leader of the Avengers. I love both of those characters. I think Sam is a great character. I think Thor is a great character. But they're great characters for what they are. I don't see either of them as that. None of them, like in the words of Harrison Ford, Thunderbolt Ross, you're not Steve Rogers. None of them are. None of them are. Stephen Strange is not Steve Rogers. Thor Odin's son is not Steve Rogers. Bucky is not Steve Rogers. Sam is not Steve Rogers. He's the guy. And so to try to, it's just going to be interesting how this goes. And if they were planning of setting up Sam to be the leader of the Avengers, they're going to have to rethink that with by the way, lowest cinema score in MCU movie history. Captain America Brave New World has the lowest cinema score in MCU history. And we'll see how its second weekend does. I don't think it's going to have a particularly strong second weekend. I mean, if it does, that's great. I don't think it will, but we'll see. So they might have to rethink that. But the problem is that I acknowledge I don't really have an answer to, is there's really not anybody that is a strong contender to be the leader of the Avengers. Except for the guy that they were going to set up to be the next face of the MCU and the Avengers, Chadwick Boseman, T'Challa. And then the tragedy happened. He would have been the perfect guy to be the next one up, to be the face of the MCU and to maybe be the de facto leader of the Avengers and all that kind of stuff. He was the guy to do it. That was the clear next choice. And then tragedy struck, and we lost Chadwick Boseman. And they're kind of left without any really good A-list contender. I think the next closest thing might be Hawkeye, but I don't really know if anybody else would be a good contender for it. Sam or anybody else. Anyway, that's a problem they're going to have to address. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, hi guys, viewer for 2017 and now first time writer as I watched the show live in a pub in Norwich.
Oh, wow. Thank you, man.
Yeah, while on work travels, my most anticipated film this year is 28 Years Later. What's your thoughts on the OG film as a whole? And also have Danny Boyle film. Oh,
favorite Danny Boyle
film.
All right. So as far as the 28 series, I like those movies. I confess I'm not the biggest fan of them, but I like them. And I think this new one look, all we really got is that one trailer. But the trailer's pretty banging. As far as favorite Danny Boyle film, I hate to sound cliche and everything, but I think it's Slumdog Millionaire. I love that movie. It's like, it's not just a Best Picture winner. And it was. It won Best Picture at the Academy Awards. It's really great. It's a great movie.
Yeah. Mine hands down is Trainspotting.
I was going to say, next up for me would probably be Trainspotting. I think a lot of people's popular choice would be Trainspotting. And it is fantastic. But I love Slumdog Millionaire. I love that movie. All right, what's next?
We got a Marcellus. Call me crazy, but since Nick Fury played a huge role in assembling the first Avengers team, do you think he can help Sam Wilson assemble the new team? He has resources and knows how to track everyone down, maybe except Thor and Carol for obvious reasons.
I honestly don't know. After the abomination of Secret Invasion, I don't know how much gas they've got left in the Nick Fury tank. Plus, even in Secret Invasion, like one of the running themes is Nick Fury's out of gas. Like that's one of the themes of the show. It's like he can't really do this. He's exhausted a lot of his contacts. He's exhausted a lot of his resources.
His main sidekick is gone now.
Maria's gone. Now listen, one of the strongest elements of the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. But I feel like maybe that character has run its course, which might be one of the reasons why they've kind of been moving Wong into the position of being kind of the connective tissue. So listen, I would be all for Samuel L. Jackson and Nick Fury being in these Avengers movies. All for it. I just don't know if they will. We'll find out. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is Anonymous says, Chris, as a fan of David Tennant, did you ever think you would see him sing I'm Going to Be 500 Miles by the Proclaimers at the BAFTAs with Brian Cox and others in the audience? Also, how many times have you watched it on YouTube?
0 times.
For any of us, 0, but now I need to.
Yeah. When I wake up, will you know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. I love that song.
We both put the stank on that.
You. That, if any of you are too young to remember that song, it is a great song.
Oh, white people.
La, la, da. Anyway, it's so good. Actually, I used to play that in my band. Me and my band used to play that song when we would do little gigs. I love that. So I haven't seen it at all, but now I'm probably going to want to go and look it up.
Boy.
Oh, please. You guys should hear the things racing. Mornings.
Tomorrow I'm going to bring my guitar into the show and we're going to open up the show with me singing
Oh man, I'm feeling
500
sick.
miles.
That'd be amazing.
All right,
Oh,
what's
I think I'm
next?
getting sick right now.
Mike Rachetta says, good afternoon, John and crew. Question for all. If you could only have one, what would you pick? A full year of movies you're excited for, live up to your expectations, or a full year of movies you had no excitement around, be better than your expectations?
That one.
Boy, I like better.
I like the second one.
Yeah, me too.
I love this.
I love that feeling. Oh my God.
Like, it is so great that when something like Shogun, which I know is a TV show, but when something like Shogun that I am so excited for and I cannot wait for and I'm dying for, and it comes out and it's even better than expected. Love that. Absolutely. But I've said on the show before, there are few better experiences as a movie fan than when you go into something you really don't expect much out of and you end up loving it.
Employee of the month, baby. And recently, Dogman. Yeah. Everyone go watch it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Employee of the Month is one of my favorite dumbest movies ever.
But I mean, like, and I get those every once in a while. I love it. It's one of my favorite things. So yeah, the second one.
What was the last shocker that you had? Like where you went in and was like, I gotta watch this because everyone else is watching it, but I don't.
I'm
Do
trying.
you remember? You had one recently.
It happens.
And it might
all
have been
the
with
time.
me too. I'm not sure, but I'll keep thinking about it and then.
Yeah, I mean, obviously one of them was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one. But
Oh,
that
yeah,
was like well over. I know there have been a couple that have happened since. I just can't remember. But it's one of my favorite.
Transformers one. There you go.
Yeah, but after CinemaCon, I thought it was going to be really good.
Oh, okay.
Remember, because at CinemaCon, I was like, this is going to be really good. But yeah, we'll see. All right, what's next?
Okay, Cody Hunt Films. Where's the DGA in all of this? As a union, how can they allow filmmakers not get paid for promoting a film? What about Brady's agent?
It's a common thing. You don't get a say.
Yeah.
You can try to put it into a contract, but listen, here's what a lot of studios might say too. Hey, when we made this movie, we gave it the biggest budget we could, and we had no idea it was going to be nominated for an Academy Award. And now we got, so, I mean,
I feel like in certain cases you could ask for risers depending on like the budget of the film and you know how much you're getting paid at. If you're making 15-20 million a film, maybe you don't need a job for 4 months.
yeah.
You know? But if you're making like scale and maybe like certain things, like you mentioned, certain appearances that make sense, you're going to do free. But then there's risers. Okay, but if now you want me to travel for a month throughout Asia and Europe and this, and I can't work, there's got to be risers to my
Yeah,
pay.
you got to be able to figure that out. Or you can decline.
Yeah,
Say no.
right.
Say, I can't take 4 months out to go and do this because I got to work
I'll
to pay
literally
my
be
bills.
homeless, yeah.
Now, I would love to if you can compensate me a little. But I mean, ultimately, that's their choice too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's next?
Okay, Dildar says, saw Captain America yesterday and I liked it, but I could recognize the problems people had with it. It's mid-tier MCU, but not bottom of the barrel, like some say. It's a 6.5, not terrible, but could have been better.
Yeah, I don't think it's terrible, but I also don't think it's good. And it's not bottom of the barrel, but it's in the bottom part of the barrel. I think it might be a bottom 5. Like, I definitely think Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is worse. I definitely think Thor: The Dark World is worse. I definitely think Iron Man 2 is worse. But there's none other that I'm sure is worse. If we're just talking about the movies, not the Disney Plus shows. Because there's a few Disney Plus shows that I think are worse. Again, I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's terrible. There's a number of things in that movie I really like. It's just that the fundamental problems of the movie are so stark that I ended up coming out going, that wasn't very good. But that's just me. All right, what's next?
Okay, 3 more here. Anonymous says they wasted an Academy Award-winning actress in Larson. They hyped us up like she was the most powerful, and it seemed like she was set up to lead the Avengers. It would have made sense. I don't blame her if she says no thank you to the MCU.
She did make a movie that made $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody likes to deny that. Everybody likes to pretend that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Marvel made $1 billion.
And she had a pop when she showed up in the Avengers.
Yeah, that man, Avengers Endgame, well, for both. In Infinity War, when she shows up to save Tony,
Yeah.
huge pop. And then in Endgame, when like the battleship is pummeling them, and then they look up in the sky and she like rips that ship apart, and then it cuts down to Rocket going, yeah, like that was a great moment. I actually really like that moment when she goes, hey, Peter Parker. Like, that was a really good line delivered brilliantly. But again, while I did not think that the Marvels was great, I think it was okay. I think the Marvels was better than Captain America 4, to be honest. Not by much. I thought it was okay, but it was a really bad idea for a movie. You know, there's several fundamental problems with that film that you really should have taken advantage of your performer and your character better. But whatever, it is what it is. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, I haven't seen Simu Liu as the lead in way too long. Shang not having a sequel and Kim's Convenience ending the way it did breaks my heart. In a just world, we'd get both. But can we have Shang-Chi 2? Actually, no, I'd rather have Kim's Convenience back over Shang-Chi 2.
If the entertainment gods came to me and said, we'll give you one, Kim's Convenience Season 2 or Shang-Chi 2, as much as I love Shang-Chi, and again, I'm on record, I think it's the best Marvel movie since Endgame, I would take Kim's Convenience Season 2. Yep. Actually, you know what? Without too much hesitation, I would go Kim's Convenience Season 2. Give me that. That show is such a treasure. It's so many of you haven't had a chance to watch it. I believe it's on Netflix. Go watch Kim's Convenience. And Simu's great in it, but he's not even like a top 3 person in it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a main character, but like
He's
Mr. Kim.
He's not really the lead.
He's not the lead. Mr. Kim is the lead.
Yeah.
But he's definitely a main character. But go watch Kim's.
So what a
Kim's
crappy
Convenience.
choice.
So good.
What a crappy choice those gods are making you make when he's not even the lead.
Yeah. Give me both. Let me have both. All right, what's next?
All right, here's our last of the tips. Anonymous says, "Hey John, Warner Brothers ruined their award season by giving the Joker 2 the date that should have been given to Dune 2. Then they make it worse by postponing Mickey 17, the movie that now received very good reviews."
Well, okay, but
That didn't happen in a
you're
vacuum.
burying the context
Right.
there. They did not move Dune 2 out of award season to make room for Joker. That's not what happened. What happened was you had a movie packed with big stars, right? Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya, what's the girl's name from Silo? Rebecca Ferguson. You've got Josh
Javier Bardem.
Brolin,
Yeah,
Javier Bardem, Christopher Walken. You got Yelena, Florence Pugh. I mean, you have a movie. Austin Butler. You have a movie packed with megastars.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a writer and an actor strike going on, which meant you couldn't send out the actors to go and do press and promotion for the film. And so the powers that be decided it will be better for us we don't want to move out of award season, but it would be better for the movie if we moved it out of award season so that when we do get ready to launch the film, all of our megastars can go out and promote the film.
Yeah. And
it worked.
And Oppenheimer was saved a little bit too, because it didn't have to compete with that late in the season.
And it worked for Dune. It did. It wasn't for, but I just want to make sure you understand the context. They did not bump Dune out so they could make room for Joker. It was that our stars we've got too many big stars that we have to be able to take advantage of them marketing the film.
Yeah.
So they had to move it.
Yeah. What movie was it where they were at the premiere and they had to walk out because the strike officially started?
Oh, right. I remember that.
That's right.
Was it?
They're like, "You gotta go."
Was it Matt? Was it? No, it wasn't Matt. Sorry.
No.
It wasn't Oppenheimer, was it?
That's what it was.
Oppenheimer.
That's what I think it was.
Yeah.
It might have been
And
Oppenheimer.
they had to bounce.
And Barbie.
It was another big film.
And Barbie.
No, it didn't happen with Barbie.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it was not
No.
like they were literally at the
Okay.
premiere and they had.
Yeah,
I don't
they're
think
in the movie and they left.
Or it might have been Barbie instead of Oppenheimer. But no, people
they're
are saying
saying
no, it was
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer. Yeah, it was Oppenheimer. So I mean, that really sucked.
Yeah.
That really sucked.
Well,
And all right, guys,
all right.
that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show a part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. I want to thank the guys in the room with me, Ray Ora,
See you guys tomorrow.
Jonathan Voico.
See you guys.
Big thank you to the already departed Robert Meyer Burnett and Chris Carr. They'll both be back again tomorrow, and hopefully you will too. We hope to see you then. And until that time, guys, my name's John Campea. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.